Welcome back to another Tuesday Morning After Pill, the podcast that recaps Monday Night Raw, because when you go in Raw on Monday night, you need to take a morning after pill on Tuesday to either correct some of the mistakes you made or mitigate the fun you had. My name is Matt Talley. I will be your host, as I have been for the last few weeks, and will continue to be for the foreseeable future until this podcast is purchased by a large national multimedia company who would like to somehow co-opt it and propagandize the American citizens into being more complicit towards Israel. That is the plan for this podcast. That is the plan for this podcast. But for now, we're going to discuss Monday Night Raw. Let me pop one of these here rogues before we get into things, because we have a lot to get into as it pertains to Monday Night Raw. Before we dive into things, please allow me to reiterate, if you have not subscribed to my channel yet, please do so at Matt Talley Comedy. Now, if you're here because you like the wrestling stuff, but I got some other things in the works. I do comedy every night of the week. You can check out some of my clips on at Matt Talley Comedy on my YouTube. But please like and subscribe. Let me know what you think about the show in the comments. If you got opinions, fucking share them, dog. That being said, I am very excited to announce that when it comes to this podcast specifically, it is now available to be viewed, not just listened to, but viewed on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and I believe Amazon Music Podcasts. So that is very exciting for the show. Not only can you watch the video on the YouTubes, but you can also watch it on the other platforms if you choose to watch your podcasts on those platforms. Now let me pop this here, Rogie. All right, Rogie's in. Let's get her done. Last night was the night of luchadors, so much so that I am wearing this luchador shirt. This is not a WWE luchador. He's more of an independent guy. You probably wouldn't know him. No big deal. But we had an incredible show last night at Monday Night Raw. They were coming to us live from Buffalo, New York. And we started the night off with Stephanie Vaquer coming out to the ring and issuing a challenge for Liv Morgan. She says wrestling is her first language. And she comes out and she says, Liv Morgan gets your punta is at here right now. Okay. But she calls out Liv Morgan. She says wrestling's her first language. And that has to be true because, man, do I not understand her sometimes. Gotta love her. She is one of the top talents in WWE, but could work on an ESOL tutor for her, perhaps. But like she says, she doesn't need to worry about a language barrier because this woman's ready to kick ass. She calls Liv Morgan out. Liv and the rest of the ladies from the Judgment Day, Roxanne and Raquel Rodriguez, they come out to join Liv because, over the last couple weeks, both Stephanie and Becky Lynch have called out the fact that, one, Liv has not been a strong title contender, defender, rather. And because of that, she is out there and in Becky's mind and words. I am obviously paraphrasing here, but she's kind of acting like a floozy. Becky was part of the Divas era. She understands where this industry came from, and she's sick and tired of watching Liv come out and straddle guys and just make it all about being a sex symbol when she hasn't defended the title one time beyond that we saw just a few weeks ago at the PLE. So both of these women have a right to be angry with Liv Morgan, Becky Lynch, and Stephanie Vaquer specifically. And they both have very legitimate gripes with her. So they call her out. Nothing really comes of it. Obviously, Becky intervenes. And then Becky and Steph face off. And they're kind of left with that. The Judgment Day sulks off as they do. And later on in the show, we see both Becky and Stephanie come face to face. And, Stephanie wants to reclaim her title. In her mind, she never lost it. She got hurt. She had to leave. Kayfabe. But ultimately, she wants her title back. Now, Becky feels that she's already made the Intercontinental title, and now she's coming for Liv's spot. She is coming to give the WWE Women's Championship a champion they deserve. And let's be honest, that champion deserves a man. Haha, get it? Oh, man, I'm kidding. We're not talking about the WNBA. Man, that's confusing. Becky Lynch should play for the 76ers. Anyway, stupid. So we see them meet up later on in the locker room, and next week we have a match between Roxanne Perez and Stephanie Vaquer. Again, we are going through the rigmarole of working your way through the boss level of the Judgment Day. I don't know how many times we can do this, right? It is just a wash, rinse, repeat storyline of anytime somebody wants something from the Judgment Day, they have to either go through JD and at one point Finn, or if there are women wanting something from the Judgment Day, they have to go through Raquel and Roxanne just to get to, Liv. And it is nothing but a Pokemon gym, right? It is nothing but the 7 levels of hell. That's all that this is, and there is no real stake to it beyond the fact that there is insulation for these high-tier stars to not consistently have to really go out there and put their body on the line every single week. But if we're going to do this, then we need to have some kind of significant storyline involved in it. And I think that in having Becky confront Stephanie and reminding her that, like, oh, yeah, I'm sure next week when they come out and wrestle, they definitely won't cheat. They definitely won't break the rules. It's almost as if they are, projecting the fact that we've been here and we've done this before, and maybe there is a new spin that we can take on this. Now, I have suggested in the past that I think we may be at the end phases of the Judgment Day, and being at that we are possibly at the end phases of the Judgment Day. In previous weeks, we have seen Liv really speaking down to Roxanne. We've seen Raquel get elevated, and now we see Roxanne and Stephanie kind of facing off. And what I think could kind of move this storyline forward, especially with the dissolution that I am suggesting of the Judgment Day, is that no one comes to Roxanne's aid. Raquel has a belt on the line that she is probably going to have to defend at some point very soon, and Liv don't do that. Liv doesn't lift a finger if she doesn't have to. So if we see Roxanne kind of on an island alone, it leaves her feeling alienated. It leaves her feeling like, where is my quote-unquote family? And being that we have had Liv really talking down to her over the last couple of weeks, what we can see is an alienation from Roxanne when it comes to this match against Stephanie Vaquer, and we can drive the wedge even further between Roxanne and the Judgment Day. Now, my presumption is that in the following weeks, we will probably see Becky Lynch do the same thing with Raquel, and doing that, perhaps we see that storyline further there as well. Like I said, Raquel kind of stands on her own right now. She's got a belt. She doesn't need to be tethered to the Judgment Day. So really what this seems like is something that they can do to kind of move the tertiary Judgment Day characters respectfully into new directions. Roxanne feeling slighted by them, and Raquel feeling like maybe she doesn't necessarily have to continue being a part of this thing when she has proven herself that she is capable of being a singles champion. So that is my thought on the Raquel and Stephanie situation. After that, we see the Usos being the goofballs that they are. They are set to return Solo Sikoa to Roman Reigns. They are marching through the back with Solo. They are humiliating Solo. And we see how that kind of pans out towards the end of the episode. And we will circle back towards the end of this episode to discuss that. But after that, we cut to commercial, and then we come back, and some things have happened, and we're not exactly sure what happened. The announcers tried to do their best to kind of explain what went on off air with whatever promo was being cut. But we see JD McDonough and Javon Evans in the ring together. So obviously, this is continuing that Judgment Day storyline that we were just talking about. But we see them in the ring together. From what was explained, it seems that JD and Dominic Mysterio were somehow advocating or complaining about the fact that they were not provided with the opportunity, Dom specifically, to partake in the AAA #1 Contenders Championship to go up against Roman Reigns in Mexico City in just a couple weeks. Which if you remember from last week's episode. Who called it, Daddy? Maddie did. Who called it, Daddy? Maddie did. Who called it, Daddy? Maddie did. I called that shit, right? This is what I was suggesting, and it seems to be that is the direction that they're going, and is that Dom feels discontented in his storylines, and he wants more respect. He wants to be, looked at as what he refers to himself as the king of the luchadors. And how is he supposed to do that if he cannot take place in this number one contenders tournament? And he's very upset about it. Likewise, we see apparently, again, we don't see because we come back and they're already fighting, Javon Evans complaining about the fact that week in and week out, Big Cass is coming for him. And somehow that results in JD and Javon Evans in a match together. Now, we see these two in a match together. Great match between the two of them. Eventually, I believe Javon comes out on top. But what results when Javon comes out on top is that Big Cass comes back. Big Cass gives him a big boot to the face. These two go at it. Big Cass marches away down the ramp, and then Javon calls him out and says, "Is that all you got?" Big Cass comes back in, beats the shit out of Javon, and that kind of is seemingly the end of that again. And I don't really know what the point is here. We missed the promo. So the storyline that I have suggested over the past couple weeks, one of more nuance, one that is essentially unspoken, was a more racially based storyline, and that's not something that really truly needs to be said. But I think we are at the point where Javon can start asking the question, "Why me, dude? Why me specifically, bruh? Why me, bro? Why me, Big Cass, farm strong, country boy, East River crossing? Why me specifically? Why me? Why me? Why not anybody else? Why me?" And it doesn't really ever have to be answered, but we do need some more context here, because all we're seeing is just these two go at it every single week. And as I've stated in the past, these mid episode matches, we are seeing great in-ring work, but we are missing story. And we saw this, right? We saw this repeated before with like Rusev and Sheamus, just two guys constantly beating the shit out of each other, and great matches objectively, but no real contextual storyline here. And it kind of feels like this is the route that we're going down with Javon and Big Cass, and we're almost pigeonholing them to the fact that they are just two really great wrestlers who, whenever they're in the ring together, are going to be incredibly physical. One is insanely, ground and pound dominant. He is an enforcer, and then you have objectively the best aerial guy in the entire WWE. So it is great to watch. We just don't inherently know why we're watching it. That's necessary. So that is a storyline that I will continue leading into. And then after that, we see Rey Fenix take on El Fiscal for the number one contenders tournament to face Roman Reigns in Mexico City on Monday Night Raw. Rey advances for that. Was not familiar with El Fiscal. If you would have asked me, I would have thought that he was perhaps a different kind of luchador. And, fiscal luchador. One might think that his theme song would be... Hey, fiscal money. Okay. I do what I can, folks. I do what I can. So after the Rey Fenix El Fiscal match, we see Kathy Kelly check in with Stephanie Vaquer. That's the point where Becky Lynch kind of calls Stephanie out on all of the bullshit that she is kind of believing. This is not your regular, I'm going to go get my belt back. This is going to be a whole thing. But you know what? You do it on your own. That's fine. No big deal. After that check-in, we see the return of Lyra Valkyria And man, do I have some opinions on this, because I'm just not pleased with this storyline at all. If I'm going to be honest, like, yes, would I love to write for WWE one day? Of course, but I have to be honest when it comes to what is going on. And that is the question that I am left with when it comes to Lyra Valkyria. What the fuck is going on? That was truly one of the worst promos I have ever seen anyone cut. She wants her Intercontinental title back. Okay, fine. Everyone's motivated by their belt. It makes perfect sense. Lyra was the first woman to hold the Intercontinental title, so like, there's a thing there. Perfect, fine. We can work with that. But then it kind of seems like Lyra is rudderless. She is a ship without wind in her sails right now, because, you know, she was attached for Bayley so long. Still not exactly sure what is going on with Bayley, if she's going to renew her contract. That is a completely separate conversation. We are waiting to see whether or not she will do that, or perhaps go to a different company. But it kind of leaves Lyra wondering what is meant for her, and it leaves the fan base wondering what is meant for Lyra, because all we have seen out of the last few weeks have been this very strange promo where she is, you know, not taking care of herself. She seems destitute. She seems, you know, like she's losing sleep. And I get that they're trying to convey all of this, but ultimately, I'm not exactly sure what the motivation is. Everybody wants the belt back. Anyone that's ever held the belt wants the belt back. That's fine. But nobody spirals like this, right? We don't see people absolutely losing their minds and delving into insanity just because they are that bent on getting the belt back. And then when she starts cutting the promo, she starts talking about Sol Ruca and how everyone loves Sol Ruca because she's a flyer. But I'm smarter than Sol Ruca, and I don't like her because I'm smarter than her, and I know what can happen. You can get hurt. That's why you don't like her? Like, that's what that is the context of this, is I don't like Lyra because she's not smart and because she has my belt. That is what we are working with. That is third grade writing. It is not good. And I think it is as easy as going kind of a similar route that you see with Braun Breaker and Femi, which we will touch on here in a minute. But new is always better, right? New is always better. If you ever watch How I Met Your Mother, Barney Stinson says new is always better. So make that the talking point, right? Sol Ruca is newer. She's prettier. She's more talented. She has everything that everyone thought of Lyra when Lyra first got there. And now everyone's looking at Sol the exact same way. So why not just say that out loud? I used to be her. I am sick of seeing her get these opportunities just because she's the new shiny thing. But I don't think you need to juxtapose the new shiny thing with a troll from under a bridge. Because Lyra Valkyria is an incredible wrestler. She cuts great promo. She's always willing to go the extra mile in the ring. So why are we putting her through what seems like a humiliation ritual? It just doesn't seem fitting. So let's make the storyline. Sol's newer, better, prettier. Lyra doesn't like that. Lyra wants her belt back, wants to prove that, you know, she's here to stay, that despite the fact that WWE is constantly bringing in new talent, that they made the right choice years ago when they brought her up. That's very simple. It's very sellable, and I'm not sure why it is so difficult to come to that conclusion. After that, we see the Vision. And surprisingly enough, we see Logan Paul leaning in heavy with his promo as the Vision is coming out. You know, Kathy Kelly is talking to them, and Logan Paul, I think, just really putting in the acting chops, because God knows he's not putting in the Bosley turkey hair restoration chops. Oh my God, man. What's going on with that hairline, bro? Like, I've got no room to talk, right? I have none. I have no room to talk. Look at this. That's my head. You've seen it before. You've seen me be bald. You understand. You know. You get it. I'm bald. It happens. Logan, what are you doing, brother? that hair. Go bald, my friend. Or get the surgery. But either way, man, Logan Paul looks stressed. He looks stressed right now. So prayers to our big boy Logan, you know. After that, Maxine and Austin cut like 2 bullshit lines of promo, which again, we've talked about in weeks past, and we don't have to talk about this week because we discussed it on last week's podcast. If you'd like to know my thoughts on the Austin Theory and Maxine Dupree situation within the Vision, go back and watch last week's episode. Let me know your thoughts on that. But they cut a little bit of promo. Kathy moves over to Braun asking if he has anything that he'd like to say to Obafemi. And he says, if I have anything to say to Obafemi, I'll say it to his face. He marches through Gorilla. He ends up in the ring, calls out Oba, says, come on out here, big boy. At which point, Paul Heyman comes out. Paul Heyman putting kind of a damper on the situation. And Braun decides to press Paul in front of everybody, asking him, who do you think the future of WWE is, Paul? Obafemi comes out and then mocks him in the same fashion. I loved it. I thought it was awesome. I loved hearing Oba be fun for a second. You know, we've seen the ruler. We have seen Obafemi, the ruler. And we take him seriously, dog. And it was fun to watch him be goofy for a second. To just be so nonplussed and so non-threatened by Braun Breaker that he's allowed to be silly. And I like that a lot. But ultimately, Heyman puts the kibosh to those two coming to blows because he says, when you've been doing this for as long as I have, you understand that this is a business and you have to answer to the shareholders, which... the boos that it got. And let's be real, that is brilliant on TKO's part. They're sending out Paul to address the obvious, right? And that is that we are saving really good things for all of our PLEs. And we know that we're doing that. So much so that we are going to save this fight for another PLE, Sunday night's main event, here in Atlanta, Georgia, basically securing that Matt Talley will be there because, oh my God, do I want to watch Braun Breaker take on Obafemi in Braun's hometown? Holy shit, dude. Yeah, I'm not going to miss that. I got to be there. Am I going to get cheap seats because I'm super poor and I can't afford really nice seats? Absolutely. But if you'd like to send me money so that I can be up front and you can see my shining face, well, send your boy a Venmo. Send your boy a Venmo. But we are going to see Braun Breaker take on Obafemi for the future of WWE match. Whatever that means. Obviously, when it comes to WWE, they do these things from time to time. We saw kind of a similar storyline with CM Punk and Seth Rollins and all of that like a year or so ago with who is going to be the future of leadership within WWE. But I'm very excited for this match. As I've said previously, I want to watch these men punch each other in the face for a very long time. But very interesting. What we saw at the end of this promo was Paul Heyman shaking Obafemi's hand and Braun Breaker absolutely twisted over it. And this is what I called last week, right? Let's do it again. Matt Talley made a good call last week. Pay me. Matt Talley made another call last week. Pay me. And what we are seeing is Braun Breaker and Obafemi essentially compete for Paul Heyman's favor. He is the father figure. He is the advocate. He is an oracle. He understands how this business works. And Oba wants to be the greatest. And I think Oba understands that Paul is a tool for him. Something that he can use to continually elevate himself. Whereas Braun looks at Paul almost as a father figure. Tell me what to do. And Paul is playing this perfectly. I called it last week, and that's exactly what seems to be happening this week as well. We move forward from there with arguably my favorite match of the night. My favorite match of the night was Dragon Lee versus El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. And holy shit, do I love this guy. It being part of the #1 contenders tournament to face Roman Reigns in Mexico City, obviously most of the WWE talent that are consistent within Monday Night Raw are moving forward. But there were multiple points during this match where I was like, oh my God, they're going to give it to Dr. Wagner Jr. I love this dude. He is a luchador. He is huge. He is nimble. Homie can fly. And admittedly, I am not caught up with AAA in any capacity. I don't really know a lot of the wrestlers within AAA. Obviously, you know Ray Phoenix, you know Pento when he's down there, you know La Parka, you know the Iguana. Like those are the ones that kind of make their way back and forth between WWE proper and AAA. So I'm familiar with them. But oh my God, I was very in love with El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. He was awesome. Also, he's dressed like a Power Ranger. He's dressed like the or the Black Ranger, or the Gold Ranger. He's dressed like the Gold Ranger. He's dressed like Tommy. He's dressed like all of the iterations of Tommy from the Power Rangers. How could I not love him? He's incredible. Bring him up more. Bring him up more. He's so much fun. He's so much fun. Is the gimmick a little weird? Of course, but still, this dude can move, man. This dude can move. He's big and he can fly, and I like him a lot. We got to do more stuff with him. Speaking of luchadors, after that, we see Rey Mysterio take on Chad Gable for the Intercontinental title. And this match, one of the best matches that I've bore witness to in the last couple years. Rey still has it, man. And the crowd was letting him know it the whole time. Rey still got it. This thing has to be rated insanely high when it comes to this match because it was awesome to watch. I loved watching Rey be Rey. And ultimately, it's a very nice bow on the storyline of Chad Gable's redemption arc from going from, wanting to destroy lucha to learning the value of it to ultimately, defending the Intercontinental title that he earned from all of his time in lucha and all of the lessons that he learned, defending it against objectively the greatest luchador of all time, or the most famous luchador of all time in Rey Mysterio. Absolutely incredible match. No notes. Great to watch. And what I truly feel like this is doing is, it's establishing Chad Gable in a way that we haven't seen. And I think we're starting to look at Chad Gable in a way that we looked at Kurt Angle. And I like that. We need guys like Chad Gable. We need good American heartfelt stories. We need Chad Gable. And I hope that he hangs onto the belt for a significant amount of time because it's very fun to watch Chad Gable work. Now, as I do, I be being right about stuff, man. As I do, I be being right about stuff, dog. I be being right about it. Because last week, after Monday Night Raw, I projected the return of OTC2, Solo Sikoa. And the comment section told me, Solo's never coming back as OTC2. We've already been there. We've already done that. We're not interested in that. But what was the package that they played? When the Usos were returning their brother to Roman Reigns, what was the package they played? I'll wait. They played an entire package of Solo becoming OTC2. Now, this is almost how I called it. Now there's little avenues that we could go down here. And we're going to explore them, right? But we see Jay and Jimmy deliver Solo to Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns showing up, Jacob Fatu in tow. He takes his title. He makes his way to the ring. He says, "Bring me Solo." The twins bring out Solo. Roman lectures Solo. They play the package of Solo becoming OTC2, of defying Roman Reigns, and then eventually disappearing. Now in this, Roman wants Solo to show contrition. Roman wants Solo to kneel, to beg for his forgiveness. And he puts Solo through the ringer a little bit. He sends Jacob Fatu after him, gives him the Tongan death grip to teach him a lesson. And then He knights Jey Uso and Jimmy Uso as his captains, giving them black Ulafala necklaces. And Jacob is irate. He is furious. He is heartbroken. He is devastated. Because here are Jimmy and Jey calling the plays, calling the shots, doing what they want to do, but not following Roman's orders. Whereas Jacob has done nothing but follow Roman's orders since he became part of the Bloodline again. And here are his cousins being knighted in a way, whereas they have consistently done whatever they want, and Roman has been nonplussed with them, and he has done nothing but be a servant to Roman, and now he's watching these two dudes get the adoration that he believes that he deserves. And then LA Knight comes out. LA Knight comes out to try and bring an end to this. What ends up happening is that he himself is knocked around, and then he is left being held up by Jey and Jimmy Uso. And Roman is commanding Solo to give him a Samoan spike, to put LA Knight down. And Solo holds up LA Knight's head, screaming, "I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I don't want to do this." And then he drops the Samoan spike on Roman. Did I call it? Or did I call it? Now, what's interesting about this is we see Solo and LA Knight take out the twins. But Jacob stands in the corner the entire time. Eventually, it gets to the point where LA Knight drops a BFT on Roman. He and Solo escape. And Jacob's still standing there the entire time. He in no way, shape, or form helps. He stands and he watches. Pay me. I called it. Now, yes. Did I call Solo as OTC2? I did. And is that still a potential? Absolutely it is. But ultimately, I think what we are seeing out of this is the dissolution of the Bloodline again. Fans were like, yeah, it's great to see, but ultimately we don't want this to be another 3 to 4 year run of this. We don't want it. And with the introduction of Zilla Fatu in NXT, we are seeing fans kind of push back on the family a little bit. And ultimately, despite the fact that Zilla was incredible on NXT, we are seeing maybe WWE go, okay, we hear you. We got a lot of Bloodline in here. We got a lot of Bloodline. We got a lot of Samoans. Maybe we should tone it down a little bit. Maybe the storyline's becoming a little too dense. But I think in showing the OTC2 package with Solo, it is doing one of two things, right? It is either setting Solo up for a secondary OTC2 run, or what we are doing is we are seeing Jacob poise himself to become OTC3. Because yes, Jacob went up against Roman Reigns and he lost. And as such, he became, subservient to the Bloodline. He is there to do Roman's bidding. And he acknowledges that. He lost in tribal combat. But now Solo has lost in tribal combat. And he's not doing what Roman says. So why would Jacob? If this one doesn't have to listen to you, why do I? I being the more powerful, I being the stronger one, I being the guy that could probably unite this family, why do I have to keep listening to you? So there is one of two routes that I think we're going to end up in. We are going to see either the reformation of Solo's version of the Bloodline, or we are going to see a newer version of the Bloodline where Jacob Fatu is in some way, shape, or form leading it as OTC3. And as I've stated, I think that we are going to see Roman lose the belt here in a couple weeks in Mexico City. It does seem like what I said before, he is either going to lose it to Penta or Dominic Mysterio. Because if we flash back to the Dominic and Judgment Day storyline earlier in the episode, when it was recapped, it was Dom and JD complaining about the fact that Dom was not included in the number one contender series. So I think we're going to see him somehow end up in it. Especially since we are seeing La Parka go up against Penta. It could be very easily written that La Parka faced an injury, and as such, Dominic Mysterio is going to face Penta. Dominic Mysterio faces Penta, one of them wins, and one of them moves on to take the belt from Roman Reigns. So now we are seeing Solo Sikoa just outright refuse to take part in the Bloodline. We are seeing Jacob Fatu acknowledging the fact that perhaps he did not have to, in any way, shape, or form, be complicit in Roman's bullshit after Tribal Combat. And we are seeing LA Knight and the twins realize that Roman's not impenetrable, both for different reasons for them, right? LA Knight, very optimistic about this. The twins going, man, this is a problem. And then, if Roman loses the belt in a couple weeks, what grounds do they have to stand on? You're not our champion. And you've gotten your ass handed to you multiple times by our little brother, our little cousin, man. We have no reason to follow you. And as a result, we see the reformation of a new bloodline, either with OTC2 or OTC3. This is just my opinion on it. We'll see if that's exactly the route we go. I'm not exactly sure. Obviously, this episode last night, it seemed like there was some cuts. It seemed like there were some edits. I did start watching it about 40 minutes after it went live, so perhaps there were some things that they had to cut out, and that is the reason that I was lacking some information on this episode, because this episode in and of itself, we're coming up on like the 40-minute mark, but the last few episodes have been a bit longer than that. But it just seems as though there doesn't seem to have been a lot of movement on this week's WWE Monday Night Raw. But that's okay, because I still think that, if anything, this episode has proved one thing and one thing alone, and that is that I am a brilliant writer, I'm a guru, I should be paid for this, and as such, I am calling on you, Paul Triple H Levesque, to perhaps give me an interview. One day. But I would love to know your thoughts on this, right? I would love to know your thoughts on the Stephanie Vaquer situation and Becky Lynch situation. Does the two of them working together finally draw a wedge between the members of the Judgment Day, effectively dissolving the Judgment Day? I would love to know your thoughts on the Dominic Mysterio situation. Do we think that he is going to somehow end up in the number one contender series? And if so, is Roman Reigns going to lose the belt to either him or Penta? And in losing the belt, do we see Roman Reigns lose his role as OTC1? Let me know your thoughts, because goddamn, do I need subscribers? Goddamn, do I need comments? So let me know all your thoughts. All of the ones I don't even want to hear. Just let me know them all down in the comment section over here. That'd be nice. Kind of light episode this week. That's all good. But as I said, please like and subscribe. Please follow me at Matt Talley Comedy. That would be great on all socials. And I will, see you next Tuesday.